We're at the South Campus for another episode of Faculty Spotlight. In the spotlight is Dr. Jose Ramirez. Dr. Ramirez, how are you?
Good, thank you.
We're at the South Campus. What do you teach here?
History.
History. How long have you been working for the college and here at the South?
17 years, and it's been at the South the whole time.
17 years, all at the South.
Yeah.
Your impressions on the South Campus?
I love it. The students are very humble, and they tend to be very respectful of faculty. So I have nothing but good things to say about the South. It's been a great experience. Evidently, this upcoming school year, I'm going to be teaching at the South, but half of the time I'll also be at the Main now, and then eventually I'll be transferring completely to the Main, probably by the spring semester. But so it's slowly coming to an end, my stay here, but it's been wonderful.
But you're staying with Laredo College.
So yes. They're moving most of us out there, and then everyone has a different schedule as far as whether they're going to be still teaching here, for how long. But for the most part, we're all going to be at the Main. Yeah,
it's such a different vibe, isn't it?
It is
between the Fort McIntosh campus and the South Campus.
I think on the whole, our students are great, regardless. But yeah, I think there is, and I think most people who have taught at both campuses will say that there is a different vibe, a calmer environment over here.
Definitely, there's a lot happening at Fort McIntosh. Let's talk about your journey into teaching. You've been here for 17 years. How did you get into the teaching profession?
Well, I hadn't. I can't say that I had always envisioned myself as an educator. I changed my majors a few times, but I think what finally convinced me to pursue a career in higher education, in particular teaching at the higher ed level, was a class I took as a junior in Mexican American history with Dr. Jose Roberto Juarez, who's a local historian, great man, passed away a few years ago. But I took a class in Chicano history, Mexican American history with him, and enjoyed it very much. And he gave me some great feedback, encouraged me to pursue a PhD in history, and eventually he also wrote one of my letters of recommendation. So he was integral to that whole process, and I give him a lot of the credit.
Yeah, many of the professors that I've spoken to have alluded to the fact that it was a particular teacher, a particular class that really swayed their decision.
And that's been my experience too in talking to a lot of my colleagues. So there's one or a few that have just really made a difference in that regard.
What was your initial thought process as far as what you wanted to do before getting?
Well, no, there was. I had quite a few different ideas about what I could do. I did major in history initially with the intention of pursuing law. I think I was double majoring in history and political science, I think, at a time, but that was the intention.
Yeah.
So different things, but I early on, I guess it wasn't too far into my college career that I settled on history as a profession, and I just kept with it.
Your love of history, how far back does that go?
Pretty far back. I remember as a kid just being fascinated by it. The older something was, the more interesting it was to me. So I remember looking up ancient rulers in the encyclopedia, and back before we had Wikipedia, just anything that I happened to come across, read about in passing about the past that would usually catch my interest, and I pursue it. Even my classes in middle school and high school, I remember I in history I would enjoy even as others, typically wouldn't like them. I did, So it goes back pretty far. And I've always told my colleagues in the English department that I've been a big reader from the time I was young, and all sorts of things. But when it comes to fiction, for example, I would notice that the novels that I enjoyed the most were typically novels that were set in the past, not so much contemporary stuff.
Yeah.
Now I enjoyed all of it, but so there's always all these different signs that that was something that I could do. That was a passion of mine.
Who fostered that love for reading?
Well, my mother's a big reader herself, but I think it was just something that came naturally to me. It's not necessarily because I would see her reading. It was just something that I enjoyed, and somewhere along the line, I just got into the habit of doing that as a pastime.
Yeah,
I remember the summer before sixth grade was interesting in that I ended up borrowing a friend's collection of classic books. He had an older brother who had gifted him some books collection, and I remember being with him one day at his house, and I saw them, and I asked him if I could borrow a copy of one book, and then after that, I just kept, I used them as a library, and so I remember that, but I had been reading since before. Again, it just came naturally, I think.
Yeah, this is a kind of a silly technical question, but now, do you read digital books, or do you still prefer?
No, no. I actually, I think that's an interesting question. I prefer to have a physical copy. I'm old-fashioned, but I do both.
Yeah.
Sometimes if obtaining a particular book online is more convenient, especially things that are, it can get costly to keep purchasing books.
Sure.
And if you can find something that's free online, as so many things are, older books in particular, then why not? But yeah, I prefer having a physical, tangible object in my hand.
In your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do students still read?
I don't know I'm sure, yes. There's people that are just naturally, they naturally gravitate to reading. But I think with so many other things out there competing for their attention, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if to find out for sure that less and less people do, just in general.
Yeah.
I think.
And the thing is that as all of these other platforms compete for their attention spans have grown.
That's
a lot. I mean, they've shrunk, haven't they?
Yeah, and it's a vicious circle, because now what ends up happening is that because of that attention span becoming shorter, there's no way they're going to sit through a 200, 300, 400,000 page novel. But sadly, students or people who do that, who just shy away from something because it just takes far too long to do, I think they're missing out.
Yeah. How do you make that adjustment in the classroom? Do you have to do anything to change because of the way things are now?
Yeah, I think in the classroom, I think what we've done, and we've done this for years, is just integrating technology. If you can't beat them, join them. And so everything from our lectures using our audio-visual things. Most of us, not that this is there's anything wrong with just getting up, doing the old-fashioned, just in front of a blackboard, and but I think most of us use graphics and different things, technology, and integrate that within our lectures, and our assessments and many other things besides are also done online, and in many cases. So technology has become a mainstay now. It's unavoidable.
Yeah, and so basically, as the technology has changed, you've just adapted with it little by little.
You have to, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's. I think we don't have much of a choice now.
Yeah.
But I think technology is great. Look at how technology allowed us to get through the worst of the COVID pandemic. We were able to transition completely to online distance learning formats, and we got through. It was difficult. A lot of students prefer, to have a professor in front of them. They feel maybe a little too. It's too impersonal sometimes, maybe for some students to do just strictly online. But so it was difficult for some students, but we make the best of it. And I wonder how things would have gone had this happened earlier, before we had the internet, before we had Zoom and all these different things available at our disposal.
The world probably would have shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, it shut down to a certain extent, but it was still able to go because of the technology.
It would have been far more disastrous, certainly in the world of education.
Yeah. I want to give you an example of something. Is there a particular book that you have to assign for reading?
No. I other than the textbook in my case, no. I don't.
Okay. The reason I asked was, let's say, name a book, any book. I'll say War and Peace, because I don't read, and I know that's a very long book, right? If I were to tell AI, read War and Peace and summarize that for me, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, AI isn't perfect. It's a wonderful tool. It really is. It like anything else, it has its drawbacks, and the last thing our students need is more shortcuts. But I'm sure that it would help if oftentimes even people who are good readers, whose vocabulary is elevated, they can read a book like War and Peace and feel somewhat lost. So having something like that that would summarize key points would help.
So basically, it's a matter of learning how to use the tool and being able to utilize it to where it can help you, but not always use it to give you shortcuts. Right.
You can use it. It could be something that'll be helpful, but if you're using it simply to cut corners, then really what you're doing is shortchanging yourself.
Yeah, but it's definitely something that you as a professor will have to contend with as the years go by.
We're doing it. It's all of us. It's and not just at LC, of course. But, it's something that educators the world over are contending with. And once again, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
We have to find ways to make use of it. But it's not the easiest thing in the world to figure something like that out.
When you decided that you wanted to teach history, did you always know you wanted to do it at the higher ed level, or did you consider other?
Yeah, that was my preference, especially since my goal had been to eventually obtain a PhD. But I did teach high school here locally for 3 years before I came to LC. So I enjoyed it. 1 year in particular, I still look back on as one of my favorite academic years. I just absolutely loved it. So I had that was the goal ultimately.
Yeah.
But I was always open to doing, just getting to talk about history for a living, regardless of what of what grade or level, you know, to me is still a blessing. I consider it a blessing that I get to do this because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's your teaching style? How would you define it?
Once again, I'm old-fashioned. So no, I don't just get up in front of a blackboard. As I mentioned, I do try my best to keep with the times, integrate technology and so forth. But I am primarily a lecturer, and that's how I get to do what I love, which is again just talking about history. But as I mentioned, you have to, I think, at least to some extent, incorporate newer things. You can't. It's unavoidable.
Yeah. But you can be a history professor and not lecture.
I guess not. Well, you know, I think. No, you do have to get up and explain things. Yeah. But I think that kind of goes for most other subjects as well.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think certain subjects might be more conducive to alternate ways of teaching. History just lends itself, though, to lecturing, I think. So, yes, you're right about that.
How much longer do you think you want to do this?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm eligible to retire in about 5 years, but I don't know if that's going to be it for me. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I love it, though, and in the end, if circumstances warrant me leaving after just a few more years, and so be it. And I've loved my time. I look back on all this very fondly. But I wouldn't mind doing this for longer.
But what's fascinating to me is that, yes, you're a professor, you're a teacher, but it's your love for history that really drives you, which is, it's not the teaching aspect. Yes, I mean, I'm sure you love that, but it's the fact that you get to share history with others.
More than anything else, yeah. I think that's an accurate way to put it. But I think it's intertwined. You know, the love of education and the love of history, because as much as I enjoy history, as soon as I learn something new, I can't wait to go out and share it. And so if I didn't have that opportunity, it just wouldn't seem as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes hand in hand.
And doing it in the classroom is so much better than just sharing it with people on social media, right?
Yes.
This is an audience that is listening to you and that is here to learn about history.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Which is one of the reasons why I know you mentioned social media, but I can't help but think of how when you're teaching history, but you're doing it in not in the classroom, but say an online class. To me, it's just not the same thing. I enjoy interacting with those students who do take those classes, but it's for me on a selfish level, it's just not quite the same as having them in front of me in a classroom.
Is there a particular era that you enjoy?
As I mentioned, for me, the older the better. So I enjoy ancient history. I enjoy medieval history a lot. But interestingly enough, my specialty was modern U.S. history, with a specialty in Mexican American history. I wrote my dissertation on the World War I era. So I enjoy everything, but yeah, I think it's always been the case with me that the older the better.
Why is history important? What do we learn from it?
Well, I study it because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And just for the sheer love of it. But I think as cliche as it sounds, no, history doesn't repeat itself, but boy, does it come close sometimes. And so with a lot of the things that are going on in the world now, you as a history professor, you think this is why our field is important. You know, a lot of the problems out there could be avoided if we knew how this sort of thing has happened. Maybe not exactly, pretty close, and you know, so we can avoid mistakes that we've made, that humanity has made in the past. That's one thing. But you just learn. You open your mind. It's like great literature. Your critical thinking. All of that is bound to improve the further you delve into this particular subject. So I got into it because I just enjoy it. But yeah, there is a lot to gain besides just enjoyment.
What do you do when you don't have your professor hat on?
Well, as I mentioned, I read, I write, I enjoy spending time with my kids. We just adopted a little puppy not too long ago, so that keeps me busy too.
What kind of puppy is it?
Shih Tzu.
Oh. What do you write? Do you write poetry? Do you write fiction?
Well, my dissertation, I turned it into a book, so it was a history book. Back in 2009, I had that published. It was a study of Mexican Americans in World War I. For the last several years, I've been working on a novel. It's a historical novel, surprise, surprise.
Nice.
So that's mainly what I've been working on.
As far as movies, you like to watch movies, series?
Yeah, all sorts of movies.
Yeah. Historical movies, I guess?
Some of them. But again, just like with fiction, I enjoy everything.
Yeah. What about music?
Same thing. I'm a huge Beatles fan, but pretty much everything.
Yeah. Last question, Dr. Ramirez. If somebody sees their schedule and sees your name on their schedule, what do you want them to know?
That I am there to do everything I can to help them meet their goal. I'm a tool at their disposal, and I personally find nothing more gratifying than to see my students, yes, learn a thing or two about history, maybe gain a little bit more enjoyment of the subject along the way, but in the end, this is about them and what they want to do with their lives, and if I can help them in whatever small way I can, I will.
Yeah, that's amazing. 17 years. Thank you, Dr. Ramirez, for your service to the college, and I hope we see you for many more.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.